Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. This is the third part of our series of Christmas gifts. Give you an early peek at our Christmas. Not ours necessarily, for my mom. The third thing that we're going to go over today is Raggedy Ann and Andy. Not all of them are going to be Enesco, but a lot of people collect Raggedy Ann and Andy. Raggedy Ann and Andy's been around, seems like forever. There's older versions, newer versions. So we're going to go through some of these. And the first one is actually going to be, we have these wrapped. Because like I said, a lot of these were in storage for a long time. And my wife decided to wrap them, I guess, so I can't get them open. Because this one's not easy. They're actually older figures from the 1970s. And as I show you the older figures compared to the newer ones, you'll be able to tell. I remember growing up, these were the Raggedy Ann and Andy's that I grew up seeing. See, he's got a frisbee. This is Raggedy Andy, of course. And he's got a big old butt. See it? And he is another Raggedy Andy here. Now, they had a TV series in the 80s, I believe, because my youngest daughter used to watch Raggedy Ann and Andy. So those VHS tapes come out in the mid to late 80s, early 90s. And this was what the Raggedy Ann and Andy looked like on those TV series. There's also a Raggedy Ann and Andy Nutcracker. There's some older Raggedy Ann and Andy cartoons that look even different than these. But it all depends on which ones you see. These are like little hard rubber or plastic figures. As you can see, back in the 70s, the detail wasn't quite as great as it is now on these newer figures. But I'm sure she'll love them because she don't have these. She even has like I was talking about, there was a TV series in the 80s or the 90s. They had a set that was made of McDonald's Happy Meal. Last year, for part of her Christmas, we got her I don't know if you watched the video, you saw it or not. There was the unopened, had never been even put together Happy Meal. She got the Raggedy Ann and Andy Happy Meal. The box was actually the Raggedy Ann and Andy house and had never been put together or anything. So that was great. She loved that. So now we're going to go to a figurine. This is Enesco. And Enesco, if you remember, you saw the first two parts of this series. They made the Cherish Teddies / Pandanas. Also the Precious Moments. And you see the detail on these clear down to her little typewriter. See, her little typewriter's got the buttons, and she's got a pen. She's got her little bow on the back. She's drinking, I would hope, hot chocolate. And it says, Raggedy Ann and Andy, take a letter, you're a special friend. They don't have numbers or anything on this, or a year. But I know Enesco only met him for a short time. They made actually Raggedy Ann and Andy Cherish Teddy's crossover figure where there's a Cherish Teddy holding a Raggedy Ann doll, which I know she has because we got her that a few years ago. The second one, and this is also Enesco. They're in their Christmas gear or winter gear. And if you look closely, she zooms in, you even see little figurines on the back of her coat. They're in their Christmas gear or winter gear. And if you look closely, she zooms in, you even see little figurines on the back of her coat. I like the details good on these. The wind's blowing, her little scarf's blowing. His hair is actually blowing the same way as the scarf, if you look at it. You can see his little buttons on his shirt. So it's got really good detail on these. Like I said, these are Enesco. This one is, to have a friend is to be happy. And it's Simon and Schuster Incorporated, licensed by Enesco. Like I said, it's an Enesco figure. The third is a little bit of a different figure. It's not Enesco, but it has the same details as Enesco. It's the Raggedy Ann with the Raggedy camel, or the camel with the Raggedy knees, whatever they want to call him. And I don't know how many people noticed it, but there's like 3 versions of the Raggedy camel. There's this brown one. There's the camel with the wrinkly knees, I guess you call him. But I've seen him called both. There's this version. There's a white version, and then there's the blue one. And of the 3, I guess the blue one is my favorite. But this one looks more like a camel. So he's got the patches on him. You can see his little tail. It's got a lot of detail to him. Also her, she's got quite a bit of detail. And this one is actually more of a resin. It's like a hard resin plastic, as the Enesco were more of they're ceramic, I believe. So they're heavier than this one, but the detail on this one, in my opinion, is just as good. I mean, her hair looks great. You can see her little her little teddy bear. It doesn't have a saying or anything on it, and you don't see a whole lot of them that have the camel in. This one is another Enesco, and this is what the box looks like for the Enesco Raggedy and Andy. This one's called A Special Gift Brings a World of Smiles. For whatever reason, they never put the years on these. I don't know why. They're not on the figures, and they're also not on the boxes. But I also know when these first come out, I remember seeing them in our local hardware store, and they came in got these little balls, these little puppy balls falling out. They came in like a display store that looked like a dollhouse. I mean, it was probably this tall, and all the Raggedy Ann and Andy figures were sprinkled throughout the house. And at the time, they were selling that house, and I didn't buy it because I started buying them way back then for Mom when I first started seeing them, and I wish I had. I wish I had, because I guess that dollhouse is really, really rare, and they sold it. So she's still in her plastic, and she's also still in her styrofoam. The good thing is, when I dropped her, she was still in her box and her plastic, because it wouldn't have been good if she hadn't been. But there are quite a few of these figures. And like I said, I wish I'd have bought the dollhouse, because I never had a clue what they would end up going for nowadays. This one, like I said, is A Special Gift Brings a World of Smiles. And she opens this gift. Now look at the detail on this. Here's your box, and it has the wrapping paper inside. See, there's your wrapping paper. And there's your lid pushed off to the side. So her little teddy bear, which if you look on this side and zoom in, he looks like a real little teddy bear. Her little teddy bear was down inside this box. And if you see her little face, of course, she has a world of smiles. But like I said, the detail on these is exceptional. If you look at these, the little flowers you can see on her dress, the little flowers on her present, is exceptional detail. And even like her little, because she is after all a doll, you can even see the stitching on her little feet, where her feet are stitched together, because she's a doll. So when I first saw these, I was probably 18, 20 years old. And I started buying them because I used to go to the hardware store, and I was like, wow, the place was called French's, which closed many years ago. I saw those, and I was like, I think Mom would like that. Of course, it don't want to go back in its box, so it's going to fight me. But she's going to go. I just got to be careful putting her in here. Maybe it goes this way, though. Ha ha! I had to go this way. She went right in there when I did it right. It's amazing what a difference it makes if you do something right in it. Got it. It's fighting me, but I got it. The next piece, now these two won't be Enesco, but they are collectibles. The next one will be the Raggedy Ann. This is an old 70s porcelain wind-up clock, a music box. And I think you got to set her down to get it to play. This also has good detail. You can see the stitching on her feet. But you got to remember, this one's an older one. But I know she's going to love it because she only has one Raggedy Ann music box. She has a light, stuff like that. But she doesn't have a little. She's got a little ball. But you got to remember, this one's an older one. But I know she's going to love it because she only has one Raggedy Ann music box. She has a light, stuff like that. But she doesn't have a little. She's got a little ball, which you'll see when it spins around. A little teddy bear. The detail's not quite as good, but for the time, you got to remember, in the 70s, they didn't have the attention to details that they have now. As somebody who was born in the 70s, I can guarantee you it's not as good. But we enjoyed our stuff just as much back then. And actually, the older they are, I know I ended up getting this off eBay, and I had to get into a bidding war with somebody because they tried to snipe me at the last minute, but it didn't work. So you might still hear this music in the background as we go into the last figure, which is going to be my favorite, because this last figure is going to be, it's a bigger one, and I've tried for last 4 years in a row to get this figure, and I don't see them very often, and when I do, they're outrageously priced, and they only made 500 of them total. So I was like, man, I'd like to get her that figure, but it's so hard to come across. I only see like every now and then one come up, and they're always really expensive. But when I show it to you, you're going to see why I wanted to get it for her. First off, it is a big, heavy figure, and it is a good one. In my opinion, this is probably the favorite one of all of them she's got. This is the camel with the raggedy knees that I was used to seeing from the old cartoons and stuff. Because remember, he had these old knees that couldn't hold much up, and he'd always fall on his buttocks, be sitting down like this. And here he is trying to pull their cart, and of course he's got these old weak knees. He's got his little harness. Woo! Right there. Giddy up. And it's even got Patches, the raggedy dog, which you don't see Patches very often. The detail is really good on it. And I'm telling you, this is heavy. This thing probably weighs 3 or 4 pounds. So I was bound and determined this year to get it. So when I finally come across one, it ended up being the same thing. I had to get into a bidding war and fighting, which I won't tell the prices on these. But I can tell you that I was glad to get it, because we also got, which for her birthday, she already got it. We got her the camel with the wrinkly knees, the big stuff one that they only made for 1 year. Is made by Applause. She doesn't know she's getting this, but when she sees it, she's going to be really excited, because she'd always want, that's her favorite figure, I think, the camel with the wrinkly knees. And she's got all 3 variations, but she always wanted the old 80s, 70s, 80s Applause one like this, because the other ones stand up. But the real camel with the wrinkly knees is always falling down, because that's why he's wrinkly knees. He ain't got no stuffing or something. So if you look, he's got that old dreadful look on his face. Kind of looks like Eeyore off of Winnie the Pooh. Always looks sad. And if you come around, you can see his little patches. And there's his little tail sitting down. And these guys are looking around like, huh. You look at their look on their face. They even get that look like, well, what are we going to do? He's not even going to pull us. And the dog's looking at the poor camel like, are you serious? You ain't going to finish this trip? And if I try to tilt him up a little bit, I'm trying to be real careful with him, because like I said, they only made 500, and they're difficult to get. But you can even see the stitches on the camel's back. So this is very excited to get this. So I think she's going to like this. But like I said, this is heavy. You can tell by just the way I'm moving it. This thing is heavy. And it was limited edition. It's hard to get. I think she's going to love it. So that's it for our 3-part mini-series. I hope you enjoyed it. I know my mom's going to. I hope you like our videos, like and subscribe. We want to thank everybody who watches. We've had a really good year. We hope you do too. Hope next year's even better. Thanks.